Welcome to Business Accelerance Memos with me, Paul Menig. We plan to accelerate your success by listening to the triumphs and challenges of other middle market leaders of manufacturing, technology, and transportation businesses. Well, good morning, everybody, or good day, and welcome to another issue of Business Accelerance Memos. We have an interesting approach today. We're going to have somewhat of a TED Talk, and I have with me here John Hanley, the founder of Solatube, and he's going to tell us about his experience with founding, running, and growing that company and exiting. So, John, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me. In 1988, I walked into a friend's house in Sydney, Australia, and a beam of sunlight changed the course of my life. At the time, I was working in a curtain wall manufacturing company. One of the estimators there, Steve Sutton, told me that he had invented something and asked me if I wanted to see it. Now, when you hear inventors say that, it can mean one of two things. Either you're about to see something brilliant, or you're about to spend 20 minutes pretending you understand what you're looking at. But Steve insisted, so one afternoon, I went to his house. Steve had patented the idea of Solatube a couple of years earlier. With the help of his neighbor, Eric Wassink, a sheet metal worker, they'd built 3 prototypes and installed them in Steve's roof. Steve took me into a hallway in the middle of the house, no windows. Normally you'd turn on a light, but instead he pointed to the ceiling, and there it was, sunlight. No electric light, not a skylight, sunlight traveling through a reflective tube from the roof and pouring into an area that normally had none. And I remember standing there thinking, this is going to be big. That moment taught me an important lesson in business. Always keep your mind open to other people's ideas, because sometimes someone else's idea becomes the opportunity that changes your life. The first big risk came when the 3 of us decided to try to turn the invention into a business. I wrote a simple business plan and went to 10 banks in Sydney to ask for a $20,000 loan. Within a day, 3 banks said yes, but there was a catch. It was the only one of 3 of us that had equity in my house to secure the loan. So that night, my wife and I sat in the kitchen table and had a conversation that many entrepreneurs know very well. Do we risk our home on an idea? Do we bet something that might fail? In the end, we decided to do it. Looking back, I learned if you're going to build something meaningful, you can't do it halfway. If you're going to do it, you have to be fully committed. For the next 2 years, we tried to license the product to big companies in Australia. We knocked on doors, we made presentations, we showed them the technology, and every single one of them said no. Now, this is something every entrepreneur eventually experiences. When you're early, when you're new, when you're trying something different, most people can't see what you see. If nobody else would build it, we'll build it ourselves. I met with a friend who owned a tool and die shop and convinced him to become a partner to invest in making the first molds. 2 more friends joined us and became partners. And on November 2nd, 1990, I officially started the business. My title was managing director, which sounded very impressive, but you realize I was also the sales department, the marketing department, the warehouse manager, and occasionally the janitor. The good thing was when you're the only employee, meetings are very short. The reality of starting a company is funding. Our business plan said we needed about $400,000 to launch the company. One of the partners looked at the numbers and said something that struck to me forever. He said, add 50% more, something will go wrong. He was absolutely right. It took 8 months just to develop tooling and start manufacturing. By the time we were ready to sell our first product, we'd spent $480,000, which taught me to always budget for the unknown, because the unknown will always show up. The vision we had was to start growing the company in Australia using franchising, and within 18 months, we had 14 franchisees. Over the next few years, we built a network of distributors outside of Australia to New Zealand, Japan, South Africa. But from the beginning, we had a bigger vision. We wanted to build a product in the United States. So in 1992, one of the other partners opened our first American office in Carlsbad, California. 2 years later, I packed up my life, moved across to the USA, and worked on building the business there. But what really excited me was something even bigger, was taking the idea global. However, after 4 years, my relationship with my USA partner was not going well, and I sold my shares in the company and negotiated a license to export the product to other areas of the world. With the help of my son, we expanded our company distributors to the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Argentina, then eventually the Middle East and South America and Europe. Every year we brought distributors together for different countries and cultures, different languages, different markets, but we all had one thing in common. We believed in the idea. Over those business relationships became something deeper. They became friendships, which taught me another lesson. Businesses grow through relationships, not just strategies. Then there is a hard side of success. Global businesses aren't just exciting, it's complicated. There were lawsuits, there were tariffs, there were manufacturing issues. At one point, I spent 12 years in and out of court in Italy because of a dispute with a former Italian partner. 12 in Italy, when someone takes you to court, you're presumed guilty, you have to prove yourself innocent. My partner tried a hostile takeover. However, we prevailed. And when you're in the middle of something like that, you start asking yourself questions like, why did I ever do this? Why didn't I just stay in a normal job? But the truth is, every entrepreneur eventually runs into moments where things fall apart. Markets change, regulations change, peoples change. And sometimes the hardest challenges come from people you once trusted the most. The hardest lesson was towards the end of my journey in the business. We had a major dispute with the main company of a contract that ultimately ended our license agreement. The person on the other side of the dispute was the partner that I started the original company with. Someone I'd known for 50 years. Someone I did my apprenticeship when we were young. Someone I invited to become one of my partners. And that experience taught me the hardest lesson of my entire career. Partnerships can change when money starts coming in. Looking back, when I think of the moment in Steve's house in Sydney, the moment I first saw sunlight pouring through that tube, I had no idea where the journey would lead. From one invention in a living room to a company that spread across continents. It was a journey filled with risk, mistakes, victories, setbacks, and lessons I could never have learned any other way. But if there's one thing I know for certain is this: great opportunities rarely arrive perfectly packaged. Sometimes they arrive as strange as an idea in a friend's house. And the only difference between the people who build something extraordinary and the people who don't is that someone is willing to say, let's try. Let's give it a go.
That's a great story, John. A couple of questions come to mind. First one was the number of people that were involved in the business. You started with 3 people initially, and then you brought on additional partners. What did you do to legally set up and document your business? Do you remember?
Well, initially with the franchising in Australia, we had a franchise consultant that helped us set up a franchise manual, and it progressed that way. We had a friend that was an attorney that gave us the advice. But basically, partnership, the inventor, his neighbor, myself, 25% of the company, the other 3 partners had certain shares. But as it goes along, one of the partners in the day-to-day running of the company expanded and prospered prior to the other partner.
Why did you choose franchising?
I guess one of the other partners was already playing with the idea with a friend of his, thinking of setting up some franchising. It had a small business himself, but also something different. So we took a chance on it to an extent, and basically it exploded our business because of the franchise fees, and we actually charged installers a fee for training to install a product on Australia. So it gives us a lot of cash to expand to the USA. Now, coming to the USA isn't easy. In those days, we had to invest $500,000 to get a visa for the main 2 partners to be able to work the company in the USA. But it was a good move. It's what we planned on.
The franchisees were doing sales and installation, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So when
we trained the installers for them, and they employed the installers to do the work.
So when you moved to distribution, how was that different than a franchisee?
Well, coming to the USA, we decided not to franchise. We were given advice that the litigation was too high. And so we decided that originally we set up a distributor in each state. Moving along, we found that some of the states were too big for one distributor, and we actually set up multiple dealerships within each state, and that helped the expansion.
So you had distributors then in countries all over the world. How many countries eventually? Do you remember?
Our separate license, we set up 30 countries. Actually set up manufacturing in the UK to service Europe. And as I mentioned about the Italian partnership, we formed a Solatube Italia company with the partner that eventually wanted to do a hostile takeover. And as I said, that became a 12-year event in Italian courts. But there was a strong friendship between all of the distributors internationally. And as I said earlier, they became our friends. The once a year conference we had with China in a different country, and we all came together. And even though some of the laws in Europe in particular, you can't have an exclusive contract for a country because the European Union says that any country can sell anywhere. So even though that was the law, the distributors respected each other and worked along with each other. We had to mediate a little bit at times, but it generally worked really well. And even though I've been out of the business for 9 years now, I still communicate with a lot of those people. I can visit them many times and go on vacation with them, and they're all doing very well.
Let's see. I was wondering about what happened with the patent. In the time frame we're talking, I'm guessing that patent ran out and might not have been a global patent.
Yeah, the patent in the early days was transferred from the inventor to the company, and as time went on and improvements were made to the product, a new patent is updated with all the new modifications. All that being said, the patent, there was competitors that tried to make that product the same as Solatube, and it started a lot of competitors in different countries. But overall, Tube is known as the best quality, best product in the world.
I did a quick search, and they still have a very nice website for Solatube, and I saw an indication that they were acquired in 2022. Any insight on that?
Yeah, it was acquired by a corporation called Kingspan. Their base is in Ireland, and they're a multi-billion-dollar company that had a lot of other natural lighting products. And I think it was a good step. It's added strength to the company, and I'm sure it'll be around for years to come.
Okay. John, thank you for your story. I have the benefit of having some written material for the listeners and the watchers on YouTube, some high points that you made as you went along. Always keep your mind open to other people's ideas. If you're going to do it, you have to be fully committed. Most people can't see what you see. Always budget for the unknown, because the unknown will always show up. Businesses grow through relationships, not just strategies. Partnerships can change when money starts coming in. And your final thing was, let's try. Let's give it a go.
These are things that I share now. Give back to the local community as a mentor. I've been with SCORE for quite a few years. I've done work with the SPDC, and it's work that I enjoy doing, helping other potential entrepreneurs start their companies and build their companies. And I love to do that.
John, I thank you, in the industry, the communities, thank you for helping others. And hopefully this will be another way that you're able to get the message out to people and understand what they're doing.
And thank you for this opportunity to share my story. I appreciate it, Paul.
Okay. Thank you, John. And for all the listeners, I hope you got something useful out of this, and I look forward to learning from you how you've applied what you've learned here today. Thanks very much. Make it a great day.
Thank you.
You've heard the challenges, the triumphs, and/or the tools and strategies. Now it's time to apply them. Thanks for joining us on Business Accelerants Memos. For show notes and more tools designed for middle market leaders, visit us at www.businessaccelerants.com. Until the next dispatch, keep your momentum high and continue to accelerate your success.